Your question. Now, where are we going? Where's... Bonsoir. Voilà, merci.
What are you gonna do to help the environment for young people like me?
Great. Here's one of the things, if you do 40 or 50 town halls across Canada, as I do, one invariable rule: the best question comes from the smallest package. There you are. Well done. Well done. Let's talk about the environment, and it's not an accident that the question is asked by a young Canadian. Everywhere you go, this is the issue that concerns young Canadians the most, because they're going to inherit this country, and you're going to be the boss. So we don't want to leave it in a bigger mess than I found it, because you're going to have to hand it off to your kids in better shape than you found it. So here are a couple of things. We don't have all the answers, but here are a couple of things. First of all, we want to make sure that Canadians can do the right thing in their own home, right? Energy costs are going up through the roof. Every Canadian house is shooting too much smoke up the stack or too much heat up the stack. We're wasting energy. So what we're going to do is create a green reno tax credit. So your mom and dad can go out and get someone to look at the house and say, wow, you are leaking energy. You are leaking energy, and your bills are going through the roof. So we are going to help you, give you a tax credit so you can get your house all tightened up. Get rid of that old furnace. Get rid of those old leaky doors and windows. Get more energy efficient. Put a solar panel on the roof. How about that? So you can run your Game Boy. You run your Game Boy on a solar panel. Sounds good to me. But that's just the start. Then we have to protect Canada's waters, our oceans, our lakes, our rivers. We got to make sure that they're pure and clean. We've got about 25% of the world's supply of fresh water. We've got to keep it clean and hand it on to the next generation. We've got some great energy supplies out in the oil sands, and we've got natural gas coming on. But instead of being, we got to clean them up. We got to clean them up. We got to get the carbon dioxide down. You know what carbon dioxide is? It causes climate change. I was just in Winnipeg this morning, and they've got terrible floods in Winnipeg and terrible floods in Saskatchewan. And a lot of people are thinking that's because of climate change, right? There's more moisture, and there's a lot of flooding. So climate change is not something that's happening tomorrow morning or the day after. It's happening right now. And we have to be part of the international effort to get our CO2 gases down. And that means we got to clean up the oil sands. And we got to clean up natural gas. And the final thing that's really important is that Mr. Harper says you can either have the environment or you can have the economy. And what a liberal says is if... Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And what we say is if we don't go green, you might not have an economy. There we go.
I belong to Brampton Springdale riding, Dr. Ruby Dalla. And she done a lot of work for us, and every liberal leader from here, Mr. Murli, Mr. Navdeep, everybody did a lot of work for us. Firstly, I want to say to everybody to thanks to the GTA area, Toronto area, who show every time the red light to the Conservative Party, and we get the most majority government from here. So I want to say same thing to all the Toronto people. Show them the red light, liberals, and stop them, and that's we control everything. My question is, everything is increased in GTA area, like the auto insurances, everything is increased only in Ontario area. And my liberal MP belong to my riding, she bringing the last time the bills for the Asian people, the pension plan, all the people getting the same rules and regulations for all the Canadians. What do we do on 3rd May, the first gift for all the peoples?
Well, I think that the Canada pension plan should be for Canadian citizens. So that's not the issue. The issue that the issue that I want to focus on is the rising cost of living, the pressure on Canadian families. Let me tell you a funny thing about Mr. Harper. This has been the most incredible campaign if you look at it closely, because Mr. Harper keeps making promises to you that he's not going to do now, he's going to do in 5 years. He said, I'm not making this up, he said, I've got a great tax deal for you. I'm going to allow income splitting, but I'm only going to allow it in 5 years. And that'll be great for you, but you've got to vote for me a couple of times before it even becomes a possibility. And he said, what he's basically saying to the middle-class Canadian family, he says, take a ticket, get to the back of the line. First I got to spend $30 billion on aircraft, and then I got to spend $15 billion on jails, and then I got to give the big banks, insurance companies, and oil companies a big tax break. And by the time I've done all that, maybe I'll have something for you in the bottom of the drawer at the end of 5 years. And that's not good enough. The thing about the Liberal family plan is we can do this as soon as we get into government. Canadian families want help not in 5 years, they want help now! All right, where's the next question coming from? There you are.
Hello, sir, and welcome to Brampton, city of Brampton, and we're happy to be with you. My question is that at the same time that my kids take care of daycare, and my wife able to get job, at the same time, am I qualified to go university or college for the platform that you're offering?
Well, I certainly hope so. We want to make sure education and training is available to everybody. We're the only party that seems to have understood what the future of our economy depends on. Education, education, education. We're the only party that seems to understand what's made this country work. You know, it's an important thing that we understand why our country works. Why does it work? It's not because we have all these natural resources. It's not just because we're the second biggest country in the world in terms of land mass. It's not just because we got all that fresh water and oil and natural gas. It's because we cared about equality of opportunity for every citizen and didn't want to leave anybody out. That's why we're successful. Look at this room. Look at this room. Look at this room. And all of it depended on the idea of equality. All of it depended on the idea of equality. And Mr. Harper will never understand that if I talk to him between now and Kingdom Come. He thinks the only thing you can do to get an economy moving is slash taxes for the big guys. And we're saying, wait a minute, what made this country work so well is we cared about equality of opportunity. We didn't want to leave anybody out. And we're not perfect here. We're not perfect. There's still a lot of Canadians who are left out. A lot of Aboriginal Canadians don't get a shot. A lot of recent arrivals, new immigrants to our country, are still stuck in bad jobs. And, you know, we've got to care about equality of opportunity. If we care about equality of opportunity, everything's going to be just fine. That's the Liberal message.
Monsieur Ignatieff, bienvenue. Nous sommes fiers que vous êtes ici. Je vais continuer en anglais parce que je pense que la plupart des gens ne comprennent pas. We lived in Montreal for 20 years, and all the time we were there. In fact, we raised our family there. Sovereignty was never an issue. We were there during 2 referendums, and we were there in 1995, the day that the referendum was beaten the last time. My question to you is, as leader of the Liberal Party, leader of the government, what is your plan to deal with Quebec? Because after all, there are over almost 9 million people there, which is almost a third of the population. And I think they need to know, too, where they stand.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's a very good question. And I think I'll answer it both in French and English. You got to start with confidence. You got to start with an attitude of confidence. I'm extremely confident in the future of our country. I believe that when faced with these issues, Quebecers see no contradiction between being proud Quebecers and proud Canadians. By majority, they believe that there's no contradiction between being proud of being a Quebecer and proud of being a Canadian. And if you say that and you work on that, and you say to them with confidence, look, we got a lot of problems together. We got a lot of problems we share. Of course, we're divided by language, but there's so many problems we share that we have to fix together. Think about that question asked by that young boy. Where are you going? There you go. The environment. Pollution doesn't stop at the border. Pollution doesn't care about sovereignty. Pollution doesn't care about, these debates. Quebecers want solutions to the environment. They want an environment they can hand on to their children. They want good jobs. They want to make sure that when they retire, they have a public pension. They want to make sure there's a healthcare system they can always count on. They want to make sure that if they need a child care place, it'll be there for them. The practical, ordinary, day-to-day concerns of life are not going to be solved by sovereignty. So we need to say those two things. We need to say we're confident in the future of our country. We welcome an open debate with anybody who wants to debate this issue. But we feel confident when the choice comes, Quebecers are going to choose parties that focus on what really matters to them, what's really relevant to them.